Honorable Captain Raghu Raman, founding CEO of National Intelligence Grid, Group President, Risk Securities and New Venture Reliance Industries, our most valued invited guests, Honorable past Chairman of ICI, Chairman C.A. Pankaj Mundra, Vice Chairman C.A. Naveen Sharma, Member of the Chapter and their spouses, my colleagues in the Management Committee, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome and a very good evening to all of you. Firstly, I would request our Chairman C.A. Pankaj Mundra to escort Captain Raghu Raman to the dais. Honorable Omar Al-Masmar, General Manager, Dubai Investment Park, will also join us, but he will join us around 7 p.m. As we all know, today is 26/11. 8 years ago, on the same day, terrorists attacked city of Mumbai, killing innocent people and security personnel, including top official policemen, besides damaging property. But our policemen, commandos fought bravely for Mumbai's safety. We are proud of them and would like to pay tribute to those who laid down their lives while fighting terrorism. Also, 4 days from now, on 30th of November, is the Martyrs' Day. November 30 is marked as Martyrs' Day in the United Arab Emirates, recognizing the sacrifices and dedication of Emirati martyrs who have given their life in the UAE and abroad in the field of civil, military and humanitarian service. We would also like to pay tribute to all Emirati martyrs and UAE's heroes. May I request all of you to please observe a 1-minute silence to pay homage to all the fallen heroes of UAE and the India. The theme of today's session is leadership lessons learned from the armed forces. We all know that leadership is important in every sphere of our lives. The leadership development is vital because organizations take on personality of their leaders. Leadership training and development can maximize productivity, shape a positive culture and promote harmony. However, leadership is never easy. No matter how effortlessly some leaders appear to manage, the path of leader is one fraught with constant challenge and surprise. However, the leader does not face the challenge alone. By definition, a leader has a group or organization working to meet each challenge and achieve each goal. The leader's job is not to solve every problem alone, but to inspire those he or she leads to solve the problems. The perfect example of such leadership position is a captain of the army. One such leader is among us who will share with us all the lessons and experiences he had during his tenure with the Indian Army. Please put your hands together for Captain Raghu Raman. While I was browsing through the internet, I found very interesting but horrifying facts about Siachen Glacier. The highest combat zone on planet Earth, Siachen Glacier is one place where fewer soldiers have died on the line duty due to enemy fire than because of the harsh weather conditions. For Indian forces deployed in Siachen to stay atop this 76-kilometer long glacier at 5,400 feet, 400 meters altitude nearly twice the altitude of Ladakh and Kargil, in itself means you have to defy all your physical, mental and spiritual limits. In Siachen, you are at risk of getting a deadly frostbite if your bare skin touches steel, that is gun trigger for example, for just over 15 seconds. For those who don't know about frostbite, it's a condition resulting from abrupt exposure to extreme cold that can leave amputation of fingers or toes as the only alternative. In extreme cases, these organs may just fall off. Such a hardship our soldiers go through, and we can't even imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for our brave soldiers who sacrifices their sleep so that we can sleep well. Before I conclude, I will mention about special contributions for this event. I would like to thank Captain Sunil Sharaf for connecting us with Captain Raghu Raman. I would also like to mention name of our member, CA Ravi Ramniklal Tanki, who was the first participant to register online for the event. And I would like to thank all our members for their gracious presence. Special thanks to our sponsors who always support us. Our principal sponsors, Hamria Free Zone and Sharjah Airport Free Zone, NMC Group and UAE Exchange. Our principal sponsors, Lulu International Group, Commercial Bank of Dubai, Malabar Gold and Diamonds, Danube Group and IFCO Group. Our institutional partner, Delhi Private School Group. Our branding partner, Adventure, and our media partner, Khalij Times. Thank you. Now I call upon Chairman CA Pankaj Mundra to deliver the Chairman's address. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. For members who have come first time, I am sure you would have liked this venue, isn't it? Well, it was well said by Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. If a man say he is not afraid of dying, either he is lying or he is a soldier. A very warm welcome to our speaker, guest of honor, past chairman, special guest, our sponsors, and to all dear members who are present here on this special evening of 26/11. We all are delighted to share with you all this special event, the leadership lesson learned from armed forces, a tribute to soldiers across the globe. I have the honor of welcoming Captain Raghu Raman for joining us for this special event, and of course our guest of honor who is on the way, Mr. Umar Al Mismar, General Manager of Dubai Investment Park. It is pleasure to have both of you, sir, this evening. The inspiration for organizing this event came to me last year September after watching Phantom, a Bollywood movie, and when my partner Captain Sunil Sharaf happened to share with me Captain Raghu Raman TED Talk video early this year, that was the time I decided to invite him with this theme, and today we are delighted to hear from our speaker, Captain Raghu, who will be sharing the best practices adapted by armed forces, which can be translated into some vital best practices in the corporate world. As you all know, the date for this event, that is 26/11, was chosen because of two reasons. One, to pay our tribute to brave policemen of Mumbai Police, the martyrs, and to pay our tribute to UAE soldiers on Commemoration Day, which is on 30th November. The courage, the pride, the determination, the selflessness, the dedication to duty, the integrity, all these qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself is a soldier. I wish we all have these qualities in attaining our personal and professional goals. We are all hope that the learning from this session would be added treasure in our life. Few announcements. We had a great CSR event on 18th November Friday morning with Dubai Municipality Clean Up the World campaign, where more than 50 members and their family participated in the early morning at 8 o'clock at Al-Quz area. We all were picking up all the things which was there on the ground. It was a great experience. Since then, anything which is there in my car, I am very specific to go and throw in the dustbin of my parking lot or the parking area where I park my car. I thank my ex-com colleague CA Sundar Nurari, who lead this initiative, and he deserves a round of applause. We are working closely with Dubai Cares to come up with another CSR event in first quarter of next year. I am happy to share that our first overseas study tour to Georgia, Europe, is starting from 16th December to 20th December, have received overwhelming response with a registration of more than 40 families, totaling to more than 90 guests, including family members, have registered and paid for. There are still members who want to attend the study tour and they are in wait list, and will see based on the best availability. The tour will have a mix of learning and entertainment for members and their families, with Dr. Anil Khandelwal, former chairman of Bank of Baroda, conducting a 1.5 day workshop on journey to leadership in our journey to Georgia. Along with us, we'll have also Dr. Vishwas Chabra, who will share valuable tips on yoga, which is future of health. I thank my colleague, CA Mahmood Bangara, our treasurer, who will be leading this initiative along with me, and we have a full house. So again, he deserves a round of applause, members. As we speak, we already have started planning for a trip to Bali or Barcelona starting 18th March, for which details will follow soon. I am also happy to share that SEBI chairman, Mr. UK Sinha, will share his wisdom on 9th December Friday morning on a brunch on India, a favorite destination for NRI and foreign investors, followed by a panel discussion on a very hot topic, demonetization. On 12th December, we are planning an event on digital transformation for CFOs, trend, and where we have learned speakers from Microsoft. The details for this event will also follow soon. So on behalf of Managing Committee, I thank you once again for the support shown to us in last 2 months, and we aim to continue to serve the ICA Dubai chapter to best of our ability. As you all know, we have been within the period of 4 months, I will say starting July, compared to last year, we added more new members, and our membership award drive is working very well, where we got a referral of 52 new members from our existing members. They all deserve a thunder round of applause. Once again, I welcome you all on this landmark event of ICA Dubai chapter, and I thank you once again and request C. Anish Mehta to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, CA Pankaj. Now we would call upon Ms. Charu Khurana to please come on the stage and provide brief introduction of the speaker of the day, Captain Raghu Raman.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to tonight's event. I'm privileged and delighted to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Captain Raghu Raman. Raghu Raman has possibly one of the most unique career profiles spanning over 25 years. He spent 11 years as an officer in the Indian Armed Forces, followed by another 11 years in the corporate sector before joining the government as the CEO of the National Intelligence Grid. Raghu started his career with the Indian Army. During his stint, he was in active combat in Punjab, battling terrorists, and in Siachen Glacier, facing Pakistani troops. He has served as an UN peacekeeper, as well as being an instructor teaching leadership and strategy to the officers at the prestigious School of Armored Warfare. After leaving the Indian Army, Raghu joined the Mahindra Group in 1998 and helped set up Mahindra United World College. Over the next 10 years, he led various companies including First Choice, Mahindra SSG, and finally DLSI, a Mahindra joint venture with British Aerospace, before being handpicked to create and head the National Intelligence Grid, part of Ministry of Home Affairs in the Government of India. After his 5-year stint as the founding CEO of National Intelligence Grid, Raman joined Reliance Industries as Group President, Risk, Security and New Ventures. Raghu is a distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, a frequent guest faculty in business schools, keynote speaker and columnist on national security strategy and leadership in leading publications. He is also the author of Every Man's War, a book published by Random House. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Captain Raghu.
Pankaj and of course the organizing committee members of this August Forum, firstly, a very heartfelt thank you for this opportunity to come and speak over here. 26/11 actually is a very important day in my life as well, and I have got some of my former colleagues sitting here who will testify that it was on this day that I went back into the government. So as my bio was read out, I did spend about 10 years, 11 years in the army, and then I moved into the corporate world, and then for 5 years I worked with the government. And a lot of my friends asked me which one of these careers was the most difficult one. I don't have the answer to that one yet, but I tell you the easiest one was the army. Because in the army, at least you knew which side the enemy is. In the remaining two professions, it's a little difficult to make out. This presentation that you're going to see actually is a live workshop that is conducted for young officers. And as my bio was read out, after my stint in the army, my last posting was as an instructor in the Armored Post Reference School, where it was my job to train young officers who would then be leading their own troops into battle. And unlike many other professions, including yours, in our profession, we don't have the luxury of saying that in this quarter, if we lost a little bit of profit, we'll make it up in the next quarter. It doesn't work like that. If in this quarter we make a widow, she remains a widow for the rest of her life. If in this quarter we make orphans, there are mistakes, come home and body bags. And therefore, our style of instruction also in the academies is a little harsh. It is a little close to life, and in many ways, this workshop is also going to be a little bit like that. And possibly this session that you will go through will be very different from any session that you have ever attended in your life before. Because during one stage of this session, I will put you into the shoes of a combat leader. And you will have to take a decision like a combat leader. And like most tough decisions in life, this is not going to be a decision between a right and a wrong. This is going to be a decision between one right and another right. In both the cases, you will lose soldiers. In both the cases, you will make orphans and widows. The trick is to make as few of them as possible. Now, to do that, you will have to actually immerse yourself into the shoes of a combat leader. And the only way you can do that is to keep with me for the first 5 to 10 minutes. If after 5 minutes you realize that this is not my cup of tea, you can go back to your cell phones and WhatsApp and whatever else you have to do. But for the first 5 odd minutes, I would request you to pay, sort of an immersive attention, because only then you will get into the skin of a soldier who has to take a combat decision. Are you with me so far? Yes. Good. So as I was mentioning earlier also, when I stepped out of the army and I came into the civil world, one of my first assignments was as the CEO of a company called First Choice, which is a used car portal. Some of you who are familiar with businesses in India may know it's a Mahindra Group company. And my predecessor who had set up was a graduate from Harvard. So this was the year 2000 when dot-coms were considered to be, dot-com CEOs for some strange reason supposed to be very intelligent, so all these economic times and all the business publications. So there was a big handing taking over ceremony, and this journalist who thrust a mic in my face and asked me, your predecessor has done his MBA from Harvard, where have you done your MBA? Now, this is the first time I'm facing a press conference. As I was telling you, if I had to, my head for numbers is, if it is I had to count the number of zeros to figure out whether it's a lakh or a crore. And if someone converted into millions, I had to start all over again. Give me the comma here, there, and all that. So that was my state. It's still my state. I still haven't got my head around numbers. But the answer kind of came from the gut that I've done my MBA in Siachen Glacier. Because if I can take men into battle, if I can take men into battle without ESOP, pay hike, employee of the month, or any one of those commercial jamborees, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. And I must tell you that I worked in the private sector. I ran about 3-4 companies. I moved into the government. Whether it was an authoritarian regime like the army, or a materialistic framework like the private sector, or a consensus-driven framework like the government, I found certain principles were exactly the same. And what I'm going to try and share with you will be those principles over the next 2.5 hours. I want a small correction to my announcement, to my introduction. These aren't my stories. These are stories of soldiers all over the world, not just of the Indian Army, but soldiers all over the world. And to that extent, the funny thing is, soldiers are the last people who want to go to war. Because we know what is the price of war. When you get shot in the stomach, you don't sing a song like Amitabh Bachchan. You scream for your money. That's what happens. And when you see people dying in your arms, it's a very different. You look at war in a very, very different way. It's not as sexy as it's made out to be in the movies. So with that, let me start this presentation. And what I would like to do is to begin with this slide. And I want you to look at these 3 questions and answer these 3 questions honestly to yourself. What are the most difficult things that you have had to face in life or you're facing in life? And again, in a crowd of this demography and this size, this doesn't have to be a professional challenge. This can be a personal challenge. People might be going through some severe personal issues. There could be challenges of broken relationships. There could be breaking relationships. There could be people very close to you in your life who are terminally ill. There could be special needs children. Whatever problem in a scale of 1 to 10 that you believe is your biggest problem, I want you to put that out there in your head. The second question, has life been fair to you? Do you believe your efforts have been rewarded? Do you believe for the amount of effort that you put in, life has been kind to you? You can some people say life has been extraordinarily kind to me, and you can put yourself at 10. Some people say my life has been so screwed up I have to go to 0. Some people tell me I have to go to negative also. You can do that if you want. The last point, that do you believe that whoever, whether it's God or this power above or your fate or destiny, the challenges it keeps throwing down on your shoulders, these challenges, it also gives you enough adequate resources to handle them. And if these 3 questions you have answered to your own ability, and these are your answers, you don't have to show it to me, you don't have to give it to anyone. Once you have done that, then we will move to the presentation process. Is that done? Everyone has done that? I have one other request from all of you. I have chosen to share some very private pictures in this presentation, and therefore I would request, I see some people in the audience are recording this, I would request you not to do that, because some of the pictures here are sensitive, they show operations, and I wouldn't want those pictures to be floating around, so it's my heartfelt request more for the soldiers who are still fighting out there, whether it's Siachen or other places, for their safety, not to take pictures of these and float it around. It makes it more difficult for me to do these kind of workshops later on. Can I have a sort of a word of honor, soldier's word? That will not be done? Great, fantastic. So let me begin by showing you this picture. Anyone? Anybody? Any guesses? Sorry? No, it's not me. See? It's not me. So, not only did you see this person, you would have seen him and his team operating 8 years ago exactly to the day. He is the commanding officer of the 51 SAG which was sent to Mumbai on 26/11 on a Wednesday night. Now, I want to set the stage and give you the context of the NSG. You may have heard of the National Security Guard or the Black Cats as they are more popularly known. But let me describe to you what the NSG actually is. The NSG consists of 2 arms. One is called the Special Ranger Group, The Special Ranger Group is taken entirely from the paramilitary forces, from the ITBP, BSF, CRPF, and those arms, and their job is protection. And these are the people you normally see on TV and on certain news channels and all that around politicians. Their job is to provide a close protection role. That is their role. And there are about 6,000 to 7,000 of them. It's a very big outfit. The NSG has another arm which is called the Special Action Group. They are very small. There are about 800 of them. And these 800 are then further subdivided into two units. One is 51 SAG, 52 SAG. Their job is anti-hijack hostage rescue and counterattack. Now, these troops are taken completely from the army. They are pure army and they are usually led by officers from the special forces. So on the night of, and by the way, this is a deputationist force. What that means is that every soldier who comes in, every officer who comes in will be rotated in 2 to 3 years' time. Which means at any given point of time, the commanding officer will know only about 50 to 60% of his troops because he himself has just come in and his troops are rotating. And interestingly, on 26/11, this commanding officer had just spent 3 months, so literally within 90 days, his unit was called for an operation. And this was not an ordinary operation because if you total all the special forces rescue missions which have ever been done in the history, you start from raid at Entebbe and you end at 0 Dark 30, they don't add up to 1,110 rooms that this team opened in 72 hours flat. So let me put that again in context because on the night of 26/11, this unit was mobilized. They loaded their equipment in their trucks and then they drove to Palam. They reached Palam, they unloaded it, loaded it back into the aircrafts and then they waited. They waited, many of you might be aware, for 14 hours before they could reach Mumbai. To put that in context, all special forces teams have what is called a hit team. A hit team or alert team is a team of about squad of about 40-50 people who are locked and loaded. They are already ready to go and they have a 4-hour shift. And they sit and wait in a room and after 4 hours they are changed over and a new team comes so that 24/7, 365 days there is a team of special forces all over the country, and this is true for all armies of the world, ready to be dispatched in case of any operational requirement. Now 14 hours is actually almost 4 cycles of that hot standby. So you have mobilized the troops and you have kept them on hot standby for 14 hours. And then you have deployed them. Again, to put this in context, imagine you had a major make or break presentation to give. And you were told that the presentation will start at 9 o'clock, then it became 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, 10:05, 10. Nobody's telling you can go back home and come back at 4 o'clock. That's not, you're being constantly kept on the tenterhooks. And then you land into Mumbai, into your operational area after waiting for 14 hours. And then you're told, it is not one mission, it is not 2 missions. It is 3 missions which are to be conducted simultaneously using the troops, using the SOP, the equipment, the manifest, the command and control structures meant for 1 mission at a time. So on the spot, troops had to be divided into 3 teams, leaders had to be promoted, captains had to do the major's job, majors had to do the colonel's job, they had to immediately take over and then they went on and did this mission. And now let me describe the mission. So in room opening drills, there are 2 kinds of drills. There is one drill which is called a hostile room opening, and you must have seen this in the movies where the commandos will line up next to the door or next to the bunker or whatever. They'll place an explosive charge, the charge will go back, they'll put a grenade inside, the grenade explode, they'll put their FP fighter, 1 magazine burst, they'll fire, and then they'll slam the door open and they will enter inside. You must have seen this in films. You can't do this in Taj, Hamad or Oberoi. Because there inside every room you could have a terrorist, inside every room you could have a tourist, and inside every room you could have a terrorist with a tourist. All 3 possibilities exist. So each room has to be entered and opened with the same degree of caution as the room before that, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that, 1,110 times. I don't know how many of you know this, but after the NSG took over, there was not a single collateral casualty. Every civilian casualty happened before the NSG was given charge of the operation. From the time the NSG took charge from Mumbai police, the only people to die were the terrorists and of course the 2 commandos who lost their life in that operation. Our soldiers, before this 26/11, for some strange reason, they have never been to 5-star hotels. I don't know why our soldiers don't go there. They should go there more often. But for some strange reason, they don't go to 5-star hotels. So these soldiers had to make out whether these lifts, how these lifts work, how the rooms open. They had to figure out literally each. They didn't know whether these walls are bulletproof or bullets can go through them. They didn't know whether the AC ducting can take the weight of a man. All of that stuff they were learning literally on the fly. And they did this job and they liquidated their targets, captured the arms and ammunition, got into their planes and came back home. And you don't even know who this man is. You of course know the real heroes of India, Sachin Tendulkar, Dhoni, Virat Kohli, the real heroes. But these people, now this is an operation I use usually to set the context, because this was possibly a military operation that most civilians have seen, and 24 by, and it was a light telecast. But even as I speak to you right now, there are soldiers deployed in the border, there are people out there. So when we do an operation, say in planes, we have to attack a position that is held by, let's say, a section of 10 men. The attacker to defender ratio has to be 1:3. But in mountains, like Kargil or Siachen, these sectors, that ratio turns 1:9. So if a section of 10 men is occupying a post, a squad of minimum 100 men have to launch the attack, because only then about 10 to 15 will reach on top. You will have close to about 80 to sometimes 90% attrition. And this is permanent attrition. Any HR people here? 80% is like permanent attrition. Not like it's going to join Pakistani army and come back. Not going to happen. And yet when these men are standing in the line and they look to their right and they look to their left, they know that out of this squad of 100 men, only about 10 or 20 will see the sunset on that day. The rest of them will either be dead or sometimes worse than dead. They will be amputees or handicapped people for the rest of their life. And yet they will look to their right, they will look to their left, they will write their last letter to their families, sometimes to their unborn children, and they will shout the war cry at that button and they will attack. So many times I do this session in many B schools and IIT, IIM, ISB, other universities abroad. And I ask these bright kids this fundamental question: why do soldiers fight? Why do they? Anyone? Sorry? Patriotism? Anyone else?
That cry from within.
Sorry?
That cry from within, I want to do this for my nation.
I want to do this for my nation. For you?
That's a soldier's plan.
Soldiers, yes.
Motivated.
Motivated. They are motivated to do that. Anyone else?
To kill the enemy.
Sorry?
To kill the enemy.
To kill the enemy. Okay?
Call of duty.
Call of duty. Sorry? Yeah, but why only army? I mean, everyone else should do their duty also. I mean, what is that? I mean, we don't some special ration which says that if you eat this, you will do your duty, but the politicians are also supposed to do their duty. After all, they also swear on the same constitution that we swear on. Any other reason? Sorry? They have been told. So if you tell people, they'll do it. That's what it means, right?
To achieve the goal.
Okay.
To achieve the goal.
To achieve the goal, alright?
They are motivated as heroes.
They are motivated as heroes. Great. So anyway, sorry, you have something, man? Yes. Sorry? To save the country. That's a very good answer. To save the country. Great, fantastic. So by the way, like I said, when I do this in various different B schools, the answers those kids give me are the exact answers that you're giving me. They tell me exactly the same things. Right? And then I ask them a fair question, because if you believe he is doing it for the nation, it's only a fair question to ask you, where is he doing it? Then I put the map of India and I ask these very bright children in the B schools, where is Siachen Glacier? Now something funny happens. That the kids who know where San Jose is, San Francisco is, all of that, they don't know where Siachen is. They know that their soldiers are doing it for them, but they have no idea where Siachen is. Matter of fact, I ask them to close their eyes and tell me which is north, Manipur, Meghalaya or Mizoram, and they have to look at the map again as you are looking. I'm sure you all know where Siachen is. It's only those kids who don't know. This is not a lesson in geography, this is a lesson in reality. Soldiers don't fight for some national vision or national mission. A boy who comes from Kerala has never seen the snow. A boy who comes from Northeast doesn't know what the deserts look like. A boy from Rajasthan has never seen the jungles. They don't have a construct of a nation. They fight for their immediate comrades. They fight for the leader who is leading them. And maximum they fight for their Paltan's izzat, their unit's izzat. That's it. That is the visibility of a soldier. And that to my mind, by the way, this is not just the Indian Army. As I mentioned, I have served in the United Nations. I've had the honor of serving with many different groups, including the Pakistani Army. And I can tell you this is universal. Soldiers fight for their comrades and they fight for their immediate leader. And that to me is incredible. Because it tells me that if you have it in you, you can take men into certain depth with nothing except your personal leadership charisma. And the rest of the presentation is about how the armed forces does this. Are you with me so far? Yes. Great. So let me begin by showing you where Siachen Glacier is. So if you look at the map of J&K, you see this line of control which comes and stops at a point called NJ9842. And this point, from here up north, there is no boundary. This is called the AGPL. It's called the actual ground position line, because both sides will compete for whichever post they can capture. And we have non-campaigning and campaigning seasons in the glacier. So by the way, in Siachen Glacier you have a summer and a winter. So winter is about -45 to -50, summer is about -40 to -45. That's the difference between winter and summer. Except what happens is that during the winter there are so many gales and blizzards that the movement is possible. No visibility is there. So for those 6 months, no operations can be done. You basically hunker down in your post and just stay there. And as soon as the campaigning season begins, both sides will try and capture some of the peaks that they have to abandon during the winter. And whichever side captures whichever peak, that becomes the AGPL, the actual ground position line. So that is where Siachen Glacier is. I'm sure all of you knew it, but for the 1% who didn't, that is where Siachen Glacier is. So what I'm going to do now is to show you a very short film which puts you in sort of the skin of a soldier who has to be in Siachen. This film has been shot many years ago. It's been shot under obviously very adverse conditions. So I apologize for the quality of the film. But in about 5 to 6 minutes, you will see what life is like in the glacier. You will see how troops are maintained in the glacier. You will see what their daily life is. You will see their living conditions. You will also see towards the end of the film how 5 to 6 soldiers out of every 20 come back from the glacier. You will see soldiers with high altitude pulmonary edema, cerebral. Anybody heard of these ailments? HAPO and HACO, high altitude pulmonary edema or cerebral edema. So HAPO happens because if you go up without being acclimatized properly, sometimes you can get cerebral edema or pulmonary edema. And if a soldier gets that, let's say in the night or in the afternoon, then he will take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours to die, and there is really nothing that you can do to save him. So the only thing you can do is to bring him down to a lower altitude, but Anzac helicopters will not fly at night and during bad weather. So if a soldier gets this somewhere in the evening, he's a dead man. The only thing you can do is to sit next to him, wait until he dies. He's trying to gasp out his last words, the last letter to his family. That's about it. That's the. So you will see soldiers in what conditions. So it's not a happy, fun movie, but it's a real movie, and I'd like you to pay attention to it, because then you get into the real skin of what leadership is all about in those areas. You may also like to dim some of these lights so that the film is clearer from the console. This is the Siachen base camp from where every chapati, every roti, can you reduce the volume a little bit? Has to be taken to the glacier by the helicopters. These are Mi-17 helicopters, which are the heavy choppers, and the equipment from this chopper is dumped on the glacier using parachutes. So they are paradropped into the glacier. What you're seeing over here is the shot of, by the way, the Siachen Glacier is a glacier which melts into the river Shyok, and then the river Shyok flows into Pakistan. What you're seeing over here is the dumping happening. And you'll notice that the chopper is having to fly through the mountains rather than over them. And I'll explain the reason to that. This dot that you see is the shadow of the chopper on the glacier, and that is the dropping happening. You can see the drums of kerosene and packets of food. These dumps are then broken into smaller packets, and lighter helicopters take it to the next level. That is the Cheetahs and the Chetaks. Both India and Pakistan fly the same helicopter. It's the French Alouette. And interestingly, both of us fly well beyond the manufacturer's prescribed safe limits. So we do our famous jugaad, and French bhi dekha hai kaise leke chalega. So that's the way we do it. So I want you to pay attention to the helipad, size of the helipad. Take a look at the people who have come to open the door. Take a look at their clothing. There will be no bathing, shaving, nothing for 6 months that you are on top of a post. Hygiene is just a wet cloth dipped in hot water and wiping your body. That's hygiene. These are the clothes that we have to wear up to 18,000 feet. And this is what we need to wear beyond 18,000 feet. It takes a good 40 minutes just to put this cloth on. So soldiers in Siachen take more time than ladies to dress up. So the next clipping will show you how soldiers spend most of their time in the glacier, which is in terms of patrolling. Those of you who read the pre-read, how many of you read the pre-read that was said? So those of you who read the pre-read know why is poking the ground in the front and why there is a rope attached to each other, and I'll explain to the others why they are doing that. At this point of time, every soldier is carrying a load of anywhere between 20 to 25 kilos. In addition, he is carrying his weapon and ammunition, and he is operating in a minus 30 to minus 35 degree temperature, which during wind chill, if wind is blowing, the wind chill goes down, it can go down to about minus 40, minus 45. Anybody been to Leh Ladakh? You would know, those of you went to Leh Ladakh, that you operate at literally 30% of your body energy at that point of time. So breathing, constant headache, constant nausea. For those of you who have not been there, the best correlation is if you just got up from a sickness like a viral fever or jaundice or something, the state you are in, that's the state these soldiers are in when they are operating over here for a period of 1 year. And again, to put it in context, 21,000 feet, what does that mean? What 21,000 feet means is the Mount Everest base camp, from where the final attempt is tried, is at 19,800, where mountaineers will go occupy it. Take a look at this, and I'll explain to you why sometimes a patrol that will take maybe 3 to 4 days in plains can take up to 3 to 4 hours in the plains can take 3 to 4 days in the glacier. We'll come back to that and you'll see how. Any idea what this guy is doing? Anyone? He's making water. So your first job of the day is to chisel rock. At minus 40, ice is like rock. You have to chisel it, put it inside this patela, eat it for about an hour, hour and a half, and then you get your first cup of tea in the morning. And you will notice this soldier who is wearing what was white has become a completely black dress. And this has become black because of the liquid gold of the glacier, kerosene. You can survive without food or water for weeks and months, but without kerosene you will not survive a single night. Because if the Bukhari in your fiberglass hut goes off in the night, in the morning you will wake up like an ice tray. This basically means that within weeks of being in the glacier, every part of your body, your nails, your hair, when you cough, your sputum which comes out is black because it's inhalation of kerosene fumes 24/7. This is inside a bunker, and a typical size of a bunker is the size of this portion of the stage where I'm standing right now. This is the typical size of a bunker where I'm standing at this moment. This is the size of a bunker, and this bunker will be home for anywhere between 14 to 16 soldiers for a year. That will be home. That is the entry into the bunker. As you can see, it's a tiny tunnel that is again being chiseled in, and what you're going to see is inside. This is the inside of a bunker, and a steel walling is kept on the bunker to prevent it from caving in. And as you were just told, if you just touch this steel, you will lose your skin. It will just stay off the metal over there. Most of the posts are eyeball to eyeball with the adversary, so we can see them, they can see us, we can shoot them, and guess what? They can shoot us also. So this is literally on a face-off. Nowadays things are, well, they've heated up recently in the last few weeks, but Siachen sector has always been known as fire on ice, because the saying in Siachen is that if you're not losing troops to firing, enemy shelling, you're losing them to the weather. And there is a proverb in Siachen Glacier that the funeral pyre at the base camp never goes off, because there is always some casualty that is happening. What you see over here is a crevice crossing drill. This is a small crevice, but in the next picture, next clipping, you will see a crevice which is roughly the size of this auditorium. For soldiers to cross from this side to that side will take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, because each soldier will have to crawl his way and get to the other side, and then the equipment will be moved from one side to the other one by one, and then they will form a base on the other side and they will continue their patrol. During that time, if a soldier loses his glove, within 10 to 15 seconds he will get frostbite, And you know the cure for frostbite, right? Told you just now. What is the cure for frostbite? Air conditioning. So the simple act of crossing this auditorium can cost you your hands, your ears, or your sometimes worse. This is an avalanche. At the beginning of this year, most of India and some other parts of the world discovered about avalanches and Siachen and all of that because we had one soldier who had survived an avalanche for 72 hours. Ironically, 4 weeks before that, 3 soldiers had died. 6 weeks later, 8 soldiers died. Nobody knew about it because no one survived. But one Lance Naik Hanumanthappa who survived, suddenly the nation discovered. And as I told you towards the end of this film, this is a boy whose toes had to be sliced off because of frostbite. This is a 19-year-old boy in the next clipping who lost complete eyesight in one eye and one second, I think and partially in the other eye because of for some reason it's not working. So in this short film, I tried to show you what life is like in the dish. There is no way in a film I can show you what it feels like to stay inside a bunker with 14 other people and the smell of unwashed bodies, vomit, rotting food, gunpowder, fear. There's no way I can show you that. There's no way to show you the sense of panic that will grasp your chest in the night when you suddenly wake up and feel a slight pain in your chest and you don't know whether this pain is because you fell yesterday patrolling or it's the onset of pulmonary edema. There's no way I can show you the sense of isolation, the sense of complete helplessness which happens when you are cut off from the rest of the world. That is something that you will have to imagine. So what I'm going to do now is to take a very short break before our guest of honor was coming here. And I'll continue after this film with a series of pictures and take you through the journey. And then we'll start discussing the lessons of the leadership in active combat, one after the other. Thank you very much. I'll just take a quick break.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are fortunate to have Honorable Omar Al-Masmar, General Manager, Dubai Investment Park, with us. Sir, we welcome you and thank you for gracing our event with your presence. We would like Mr. Omar Al-Masmar to share a few words and experiences with the August gathering. But before that, I would request our Vice Chairman, C.A. Naveen Sharma, to please come on the stage and provide brief introduction of today's guest of honor, Mr. Omar Al-Masmar.
I am honored to introduce our guest of honor. Mr. Omar Al-Masmar has been the General Manager of Dubai Investment Park DIP since January 1, 2006. Prior to this, Al-Masmar was the Chief Operating Officer of Dubai of DIP between 2002 and 2005, spearheading the engineering and operational functions of the park. Al-Masmar's contribution to the growth of DIP has been invaluable, and his able leadership has made the park one of the leading business parks across the Middle East. Al-Masmar is also a member of the Board of Directors of Amicool LLC, a joint venture of Dubai Investment and Union Properties, and a member of Dubai Investments Audit Committee. Before joining DIP, Al-Masmar was associated with Al-Khalid Investments in Singapore. Al-Masmar is a graduate in Business Administration from the Higher College of Technology. He has previously worked with the Department of Economic Development in Dubai for 8 years, holding senior positions including Head of the Licensing and Registrations Division and Head of the Local Fees Unit. May I now request everyone present here to give a big round of applause. And I request our guest of honor, Mr. Omar Al-Masmar, to come and address the gathering.
Assalamu alaikum. First one to recognize Mr. Suresh.
That's good, that's good.
This is an immense pleasure to be here today and be sharing the podium with Mr. Rahman. And attending this seminar arranged by Institute of Chartered Accountants, India, for the seminar of leadership lesson of armed forces. Thank you for inviting me again. This is a great privilege, in fact, to be here and share my thought with such audience. And it's really, a new experience to be with this institution or like this association. I've heard about such association, which is the local association in the Emirates of Dubai. But the Institute of the Indian Chartered Accountant India Chapter Dubai, this is the first time. After he didn't tell me that, long time ago. And not even Mushtaq, I don't know where is he today. Anyway, this is for me, it's a new platform, by the way. Personally, I used to work in a totally different industry, different business. But this is really, a new platform for me. And this is, I just would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate the valuable contribution of the CAs in this country. CAs, they have a really vital role in the growth of this economy. Not just in different sectors, various sectors. Be it their expertise, analytical know-how, or the key contribution in the decision maker in so many projects, thousands of projects since the beginning. When this country was it was nothing. Maybe most of you, a lot of you who were witnessed the growth of this country, not just the city of Dubai, but the whole United Arab Emirates. And I believe your contribution as CAs to accredit and to contribute in such growth and projects, success of the projects that have been developed and conducted in this country. It's a major contribution, and it's a major emphasis from your contribution on these projects. That's why now we have reached to this level. Look at the city of Dubai, or United Arab Emirates in general, but Dubai in particular, and how important this city for the entire region. It is becoming a benchmark for so many regions, for so many countries to do something similar to the city of Dubai or United Arab Emirates. There's so many things that boosted the city of Dubai, boosted the way that, or the level that Dubai, the city of Dubai or United Arab Emirates in general reached. And major thing is that the thought, the studies conducted, the contribution, as I emphasize from time to time. It is without the thought, without the knowledge, without the experience you have got. Do you think that the city can achieve such successful projects, ideas, thoughts? So that's why I believe it is really vital and important, substantial in fact, role you have played. You are really a true partnership in this nation. armed forces are the pride of the country, of my country. And their involvement in is unparalleled, honestly speaking. From the outsider perspective, I am not in this field, I am not in this sector at all, I have never been there. But I am aware that the armed forces not only remain as a protective shield for the country, they have different roles, leadership, commitment, discipline, and they have made really invaluable contribution to the social causes in the last few decades. They played a key role in the United Nations peacekeeping operations, in alleviation of suffering through humanitarian efforts or during natural disasters in different parts of the world. They have set an example which is impossible to emulate and are indeed a matter of great pride of the United Arab Emirates. More significantly, the values taught by the armed forces are always considered and inspirational, whether it is their leadership, commitment, teamwork, discipline, innovation, which should be ideally adapted in every organization, culture, to achieve extraordinary achievement and work and job and business. As I mentioned before, I am here from a really different sector. I am in real estate. But as a general manager since 2006 in Dubai Investment Park, since I joined the Dubai Investment Group, in fact, we are contributing to the country's economy by attracting a lot of businesses to the United Arab Emirates, particularly to Dubai, and industries. Also, the role of the CAs in the growth of these companies is immense. It is so great. And the success journey has been extraordinary, extremely critical. Thanks to this again. We have been, as if everybody knows that Dubai Investment, they are sustaining a proper financial position and framework and blueprint for success. About the project of Dubai Investment Park, I just would like to brief you something. This is like, a project that it was exactly in an area, if you are there, you can see the mirage. It is like nothing. There was nothing at all. I remember when I came from Singapore, my boss, Mr. Khalid Kalman, told me, your office will be somewhere in Dubai Investment Park. So I really don't know at that time, where is the Dubai Investment Park? He said, just drive on Emirates Road and I will kill you. You keep calling me and I will kill you. Around 10 roundabouts in that time. So I was driving, but almost alone in the road. In 2002, I remember. So I was driving and keep calling him, and he said, no, you keep driving. So, and then he said, once you reach the biggest roundabout ever, between all among those roundabouts, then you are there. So finally I reached that huge roundabout. Then when I went inside, it is not a building, by the way. It's a huge empty area with a small porta cabin. Okay? Very hot, very warm in summer, very cold in winter. And full of dust. Because there is no landscaping, no development there, just a sales office with the contractor and the consultant. So here I said, oh wow, why you are sending me here? I've never been there. I came from Singapore, it was nice, lovely office with Mubarak. Sorry, she was Mubarak that way. So, so when you start with like a greenfield project from the very beginning, from the scratch, it's like it's like your baby. you suffer from so many things. From the mother nature, dusty, windy, warm, very cold in winter, by the way. And also in that time the challenge was because of the availability of similar product we are having, which is industrial land. And cheaper. The government were giving this land far cheaper than us. So the only challenge we are trying to impose is that, and the advantages and incentives is the infrastructure. It was not easy at all. And it's really, not easy to convince people, business people, to come and set up a $60 million project, an investment in that area. And we were talking to them, they said, this is Al Maktoum Airport. And where's the Al Maktoum Airport? No one can believe you in that time, Luckily it is now there. So honestly, the visionary who had the vision of this project had the credit. Mr. Khalid Karban, Mr. Ahmed Al-Tayar, they were pushing a lot. And I believe those are really visionary people. Without those two guys, I believe we won't be able to proceed. Now, we proudly say that we have made one of the most successful projects in the entire region. I traveled to Southeast Asia, I traveled to North Africa, entire GCC region. You won't find something similar to what we have achieved in Dubai Investments Park. Residential, industrial, commercial, exactly next to each other. And thousands of people are living there, thousands. Thousands of companies are setting up there. So we managed to achieve the concept of a city within a city in the end of the project. But it was really the environment within the entire the company, the mother company itself, based on, of course, day-to-day operation, following up, chasing people, trying to, as much as possible, helping new businesses to come and feel really this is a successful place to work. And that was the challenge, and that was what we have luckily achieved, alhamdulillah. On this note, I would like to once again thank ICAI, Dubai chapter, for inviting me, and it has been an absolutely pleasure to be here again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Asfar. That's actually quite you may not have served in the army, but your experience of being sent to Dubai investment park was very similar to the way I was sent to Siachen. I remember very similarly, my commanding officer one day called me and said, congratulations, you have volunteered to go to Siachen. Thank you for telling that I volunteered. So I think you went more or less the same way. So let me again bring you back to the narrative we were doing and show you the glacier and its challenges using this set of pictures. This is the Siachen base camp, where troops are trained for 90 days before they are inducted into the glacier. It's considered one of the toughest trainings in the world, where close to 5 to 10% casualties during training is considered par for the course. So if it's a course of 100 people undergoing training and 5 of them die during the training, it's considered to be a normal course, because everything is on actuals. So if it's 100 feet wall, it's 100 feet climb. You slip your hand, it's 100 feet fall. As simple as that. Once the troops are trained in this sector, then they are sent to man these posts that you see in the back. And some of these posts are so high that they have to be taken there by choppers. What you're seeing over here is a sortie of choppers which is conducting the troops inside. And you see as this chopper is going from the base of the Siachen snout towards its origin, you can see it becomes whiter and whiter and colder and colder. And of course, the glacier is a little tough, as you can imagine. Life in the glacier is a little tough. And there are many dangers. This is one of them, which those of you who read the pre-read would understand what a crevasse is. So, the Siachen Glacier, like most glaciers, is a slow-moving mass of ice. And it's quite interesting because if you throw a tin can somewhere there, in about 6 to 7 hours, you'll see that the can has moved there because it's constantly moving. And because it's constantly moving, it creates these crevasses. And some of these crevasses are so deep that if you take a can and throw it inside, you will hear it going kadak, 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 kadak. You won't hear it hitting the bottom. It's that deep. Now what happens is through the night, because of snowfall over the crevasses have what is called an ice bridge. And sometimes people can walk over the bridge and nothing happens, but sometimes the bridge just gives way. And that's the reason why you see these soldiers who've got a rope on their hips and they're attached to each other. And you see the front soldiers poking the ground in the front. Now, if a soldier goes down into a crevasse, the drill is that the remaining people in the patrol, they're immediately supposed to go down on the ground, they're supposed to slam their ice axe and their crampons, arrest the fall, and then stabilize this person and pull him out of the crevasse. And that drill works really well in theory. In practice, every soldier is exhausted. You're barely managing to put one foot after another. There's no vestige of energy left in you. And if at that point of time a 75 kilo man drops with 25 kilo weight, it's 100 kilos of dead weight. And before you know, everyone is jerked off his feet. And while you're trying to get purchase on the ice, the entire rope starts getting dragged into the crevice. What are the orders then? What are the orders? Cut the rope. Now sitting here in this AC environment, comfortably, some of you with your spouses, cut the rope seems to be a nice answer to give. But you got to understand who's hanging at the end of the other rope. Try and understand this from a soldier's perspective. Soldiers the world over will get 2 months of annual leave in a year if they are lucky. They never get it, but if they are lucky, they'll get 2 months of annual leave. Which means in their service of 20 to 25 years, they will spend 20 years into 2 months at home and 10 months per year in the unit. Figure out where his real family is. The man who's dangling at the other end of the rope is the man who kept food for you hot when you were out on a patrol. He is the man who nursed you back to health when you were sick. He is the man who lent you money when you had to marry your sister off, and he is the man who went and met your parents when you did not get leave. That's the man who is hanging at the other end of the rope. So while we sit here and say, and by the way, interestingly, I'm on the board of many companies, and many times I see senior managers' hands trembling while giving a bad rating to their employee. How will I extract work out of it if I give them a bad rating? The same people will sit and say, cut the rope. So we'll see whether you are able to cut the rope when you come to your best exercise. So the deployment in the glacier is typically like this, that troops are stationed basically to prevent ingress happening from these kind of valleys. You see these two black dots here? These are men climbing up. You'll see a close-up. So typically what happens is we hold a ridge line and the adversary holds the other ridge line. This is a very good example where we hold this post and our adversary holds the other post. It's literally eyeball to eyeball. This is a very interesting post. This is called a winter cutout post. Now, winter cutout post basically means that once the troops are inducted into this post, then for the next 6 months you can't bring them out. You can see them, you can talk to them, but you can't bring them out. The reason is the steep gradient of this mountain wall, where tons of ice falls every hour. And if there is a slightest of vibration of a footstep, immediately a avalanche will start. So once the troops are inducted in, for the next 6 months they can't be inducted out. 2 tenures before I was posted here, a young 22-year-old lieutenant had taken 18 men into that post, and within 2 days one of the soldiers got high altitude pulmonary edema and he died. So they took the body of that soldier, they wrapped it up in parachute cloth and they kept it next to the bunker. Obviously you can't throw away the body, it's one of your own soldiers, nothing is going to happen to the body, it's minus 50. I want you to imagine the resolve and the grit required by that 22-year-old boy to continue to lead his 17 men through 5 months and 28 days, with every day reminding what can happen to them lying inside the post. And then compare it with some of the challenges that we face in our daily life, where a boss gives us a bad, scolding and our face goes down, someone steals our parking. Just put things in context in terms, and by the way, these leaders that we bring in our army, we don't import them from Denmark, Norway, Germany. They come from exactly the same place where we get our managers from our businesses, we hire our people in our companies, exactly the same food. There is no difference in the raw material that we are getting to do this, to enable them to read this way. So this is an image which gives you a scale. The dots, if you dim these lights, it will be dim. These lights are dim. These lights here. The pictures will be clear. So this is typically the base post, and these are the peaks that they will man. And this is on a clear day. You already saw that in the movie, the lifeline of the glacier, the helicopter coming in. I wanted to show you this picture. It's an interesting one because in this particular sector there was no helipad available. So they took a ice pillar, blew it up with explosives, chiseled the top, and created a helipad on top. Life, as you can imagine, is fairly busy. A lot of time is spent in patrolling, in avoiding any shelling, which continues literally on a daily basis. This is a patrol that is going, and as I told you in the beginning, sometimes a patrol which will take about 3 to 4 days in the plains can take 3 to 4 hours in the plains can take 3 to 4 days in the glacier. And the reason for that is, as you can see, many places your feet and leg actually go all the way down to your thigh, and you have to lift. Those of you who do a little bit of running or even have walked in sand will know the difference between sand and road. Now try and visualize walking in minus 40 ice with a load of 40 kilo, 20 kilo, 30 kilos on your back, and every foot that you put in, you have to pull the foot out and then do it again and again and again and again for close to about 3 to 4 days before you reach your destination. You would have noticed these soldiers wearing what is called an anklet here. It's a canvas cover that goes from your calf all the way down to your top of your boots. Any idea why this is put? Anyone?
Prevent ice going in the shoes?
Absolutely. So to prevent ice, snow from getting inside the shoes. But can you put it on very tightly?
No.
No. Because if you tie it very tightly, what will happen? Good. Now, if this patrol, one of the soldiers says, "Sir, joote mein baraf gaya. I have got snow inside my boots." Now this patrol cannot stop. Those of you who went to Leh Ladakh would know, you would have been advised not to walk continuously without taking a break. Because if you walk continuously in ultra high altitude without taking breaks, your chances of getting cerebral and pulmonary edema go up by 800%. Now, when this patrol has one soldier into whose shoes snow has gone in, the patrol cannot stop. Because the moment it will stop, that snow which went inside his boot and melted because of body heat will instantly refreeze, and within 15 seconds he will get chilblains or frostbite and he will lose his leg. The first lesson that you learn in combat is every person is tied to each other literally at the hips. One man's negligence, one man's bad luck, one man's bad karma, and the entire patrol is endangered. Good teams are joined at the hips, always, literally. This is the first lesson you learn in combat. So, in combat, you don't have that formula, Sachin Tendulkar ka century ban gaya, whether India won or not, that is a different issue. It doesn't work like that. Either the entire team wins or the entire team loses. There are no individual gladiators, there are no individual heroes. There is no narrative which says, oh, we made a good score, so what if we lost? We broke a couple of records. It doesn't work like that in the army. These are ice caves inside which we go in whenever shelling starts. So this is an instance when shelling is happening outside and a town hall is happening inside. You use that time to talk to your troops and all of that. This is an ultra high altitude patrol, which means a patrol that will go beyond 19,000 feet. And you'll notice each soldier is carrying a specialized piece of equipment on his back. Any idea what this is? Anyone? Oxygen mask. Anything else?
Cylinder, oxygen cylinder.
Take a look at it. Don't guess. Take a look at it. Sorry? You see this one? Yeah, who said stove? It's a kerosene stove. Every soldier has to carry a kerosene stove because whenever this patrol will stop, they will immediately take out their vestin, they'll light up the stove, they'll put some ice chunks inside it, they'll melt it into lukewarm water, and then you have to dip your fingers into it to restart the circulation in your fingers. If you don't do that, you have a chances of getting chilblains. Despite training, despite drills, the troops are sometimes so exhausted that they will light the flame, they'll light the stove, and then they'll start warming their hands over the naked flame. and then they'll smell meat burning. It's an extremely, extremely tough place to exercise leadership. Any idea what this is? Temple, who said that? Because usually I get socks drying, clothes drying, stuff like that. So this is indeed a temple. And so, one of the first times when I was doing this session, I was doing it in Hyderabad. Anyone from Hyderabad here? Oh, awesome. Good. Telangana or Hyderabad? What is this? So, you know the Visa Balaji temple, right? Chilkur Balaji temple. How many of you heard of it? Yeah? So why don't you tell the others? Because if I tell them, they will not believe. Please, go ahead. He'll tell you about the Chilkur Balaji temple. You can use the mic.
I read about it. So whenever you are going for applying visa, you go there. I read about it. Whenever you are going to apply for US visa, UK visa, or other countries' visa, you go there first, pray, and then you go to consulate thereafter.
Great. Thanks, Siddharth. So, he is given you general information, but it's not accurate, so I'll give you accurately. Firstly, it works only for US visas. So don't try Schengen and all, it's not going to happen. Right? Secondly, you should have applied first. So you first apply, then go, you do 10 rounds of the temple, you come back, your visa is ready, you have to go back and do another 100 rounds or something like that. I mean, I don't know why it works, maybe it's a branch office or something, it works. So when I heard about this for the first time, I told everybody that, listen, I'll show you a temple which tops this temple. And that is this temple in one of the sectors of the glacier. And this is called the Pressure Cooker Baba Mandir. What's it called? Pressure Cooker Baba Mandir. The reason why it's called that is, you can't see this in the slide, but there's a faint outline of a mountain here from where a heat-seeking missile was fired. And that heat-seeking missile came and exploded at the hottest part of this post, which was a pressure cooker on a stove, and blew that up, thus saving the men who were in these barracks here. And since then, the aluminium fragments of that pressure cooker are taken and they are kept in a shrine, and people pray to it every day in the morning and evening. Now, sitting here, you might smile at it. Remember the last time you were in a flight when the flight started going through those bumps? Remember that? Yeah? When your heart came into your mouth, the macho men are pretending to read but they're shitting bricks. Women are screaming openly. And the men are going that if I get out of this alive, I will call my parents more often, I'll spend more time with my children, I'll stop seeing that other woman, all these conversations. That was the closest you came to what death could be like. Those 10 seconds or 5 seconds when your heart started palpitating. That is the condition in which these troops will live for 1 year. And it's in those conditions that leadership is being called. Leadership is not being called for when things are okay and things are fine and economy is doing well and business is doing okay. That time leaders are not required. That time any Excel sheet or a clown can run the organization. The challenge really happens when the going gets tough. That is the time when the leaders are separated from them. Anytime we are tempted or we hear this statement, nowadays I am not doing too well because the economy is down, company is not doing, otherwise I was a great leader. That time you are not required as a great leader. Leadership is actually required when things are tough. A lot of people say, where do you find the courage when you are afraid? It is only when you are afraid you have to find the courage. If you are not afraid, what is the requirement of courage? So please remember this lesson, that leadership is actually required during the tougher times, not during the time when things are hunky-dory and everything is happening really well. So at the end of the day, these soldiers, they go back into their respective posts. That's the end of a long, hard day, and that is their home, the bunker to which they return. And this is the only thing that brings a smile to the face of a soldier. Letters from home. All inbound letters are censored. Why is that? Inbound letters. Morale. No bad news. Once a soldier has been inducted into an operational area, there are only two conditions in which he will be sent back. Either he will complete his tenure or he will be a casualty. There is no third option, sisters, wedding, brothers, marriage, None of that thing works in the forces. Once this soldier has been inducted in, there is no point in giving him a news that his 3-year-old daughter died of viral fever or dengue 10 days ago. Because in any case, that letter will take you about 2 to 3 weeks to reach. And this guy is facing an enemy right on top. There is no point in informing him that your 3-year-old daughter died 10 days ago. But you as his commanding officer will be told. You will be told because you will be instructed that bring down Havaldar Jagiram from that post and keep him in the base. If there is a Kazanak helicopter or a helicopter which has got some excess capacity and it is going by that side, he may get a chance, he may get a lift, bring him down. Ladies and gentlemen, you may become the presidents of organization, you may become CEOs or whatever. There will be no profession in which you will have to carry the dead body of your subordinate's child on your shoulders. It will never be required. There will be never a situation where you have to look into the eyes of a man and know that his child is dead. He doesn't know it, you know it, and you will have to sustain that facade in front of him. You will have to carry that burden on your shoulders. And that burden is being carried even as I speak right now by 25, 28, 22-year-old young leaders. So compare the burdens that we often talk about, whether it's financial numbers, targets, whatever, and get a perspective. At times when we think that the load that is coming on us is so big, try and look at loads which people are carrying, which is of a different level altogether. So this man is the one who is standing between you and your adversaries. And again, like I said, this is not just the Indian army, it is the armies of the world. This is the man who is standing between him and you and telling you, you can sleep easy tonight, nothing is going to happen to you, you can party in this weekend, nothing will happen to you, not during my watch, not while I stand here. My second question during this session is, do you know how much this soldier gets paid? Now there are 3 questions here. First question is, of course, HR people here, you can do your Yon Hewitt benchmarking and all that stuff. First percentile, third quartile or whatever. The second question is, how much do you think Army Jawan is paid? But the most interesting question is, how much do you think he gets paid more for being in Siachen Glacier? So anyone wants to take a shot? What's in Indian rupees, because I don't still understand the conversion into the local currency. So anyone wants to take a shot? What is the salary of an Indian Army Jawan, the median salary? Anyone? Obviously, ex-army guys are not allowed to answer.
90,000, 50,000.
50,000. Anyone wants to raise it from 50,000? 19,000. 10,000. Who said that? With friends like you, we don't need enemies. Just kidding. The median salary of an Indian Army Jawan is 23,800 rupees. He is doing it for 23,000 rupees. Price of maybe 2 rooms in a hotel, 2 nights in a hotel. That's the price. That's what he's doing it for. And you know how much more he gets for being in Siachen Glacier?
6,000.
Nowadays, after the 6th Pay Commission, situation is better. When I was posted in Siachen, at that point, by the way, Siachen Glacier is the only place on planet Earth where the government of India pins a medal on your chest if you go there and don't die for 90 days. If you get inducted into a glacier and don't die and just come back alive, you are given a medal, and that medal is called the Ultra High Altitude Medal. When I was posted on the glacier, there was an allowance, a monthly allowance of 13 rupees and 50 paisa. 13, don't get carried away, not 13. 13 rupees and 50 paisa, which is less than a dirham per month as the glacier allowance. And then we had first time a defense minister who came to see us there, and he was appalled at the conditions, and he was stunned that these are the conditions people are living in, and he said double it to 26 rupees. Defense minister. The point I'm making is not that we don't pay our soldiers well. No army pays their soldiers well anywhere in the world. Even in the US Army, you hear stories about parents having to buy bulletproof jackets for their soldiers who are serving with their own money. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is In the beginning of the presentation, I told you that he is not doing it for some national vision or mission. He is definitely not doing it for the money. So this guy's brother who is working in Delhi police, most of you will know, will make that much of money in a week. If he's in traffic, he'll make it in a couple of hours. I mean, not nowadays, but very soon. If he is not doing it for a national cause or a vision or a mission, and if he is not doing it for the money, brings me back to my point that it is being done with pure leadership qualities, and that's the first and the most important lesson that I want to share with you in the next slide that you will see here, the foundation of leadership. If there's one thing you can take away from today evening and remember this picture for the rest of your life, I would request you not to take the picture of the picture, but just remember this picture. I think it will be a great evening for you. Do you see anything strange in this picture? This is my brigade commander who has come to visit me on a day when it is minus 32 degrees ambient temperature. I am in full winter clothing and he has come without any clothing. You can't make out until I tell you. He's also carrying a cigarette in his right hand. Of course, that's just first time. Nobody can smoke in the glacier. But he's come at minus 32 without winter clothing is not just excruciatingly painful, it is suicidal. Why is he doing this?
Keep your morale high.
So the Siachen sector is a very, very VIP sector. A lot of these VVIPs and politicians and the others want to come to boost the morale of the soldiers there. And you read this in the, I'm sure, on TV and all that, so-and-so person went to Siachen. Nobody really goes to Siachen. They go there in the helicopter, they just put their foot down, they come up, and they say, I went to Siachen. Now, when these VIPs come to Siachen, it's a very interesting paradox. Because what happens is when these helicopters come and drop the VIP at the post, the helicopter can't stay there. Because if he switches off the engine will not start again. At the same time, he can't keep the rotors turning and the helicopter static, because then the downwash of the rotors will freeze the skids. So what happens is that these two choppers will disembark the VVIP and his staff, and then they will start doing what is called a holding pattern. Right? They'll keep circling that area. Now this VIP who's come, he also is aware of one more ironic fact in the glacier, that if he is not taken back from there in a couple of hours, he's a dead man. He's a dead man because he's not acclimatized. He has been brought straight from the base and he has not spent that acclimatization in every stage. So within 2 to 3 hours, it's very similar to deep sea diving. You know, when the deep sea divers, they don't acclimatize at every stage, nitrogen starts boiling in their blood and they drown, and that's pulmonary edema, where you drown in your own blood. So he knows that if for some reason the helicopter doesn't come back because of enemy shelling or bad weather, he is a dead man. So he's not listening to my briefing, he's listening to the sound of the chopper. And suddenly sometimes the chopper will go behind a mountain and this will go looking like that. And then he will come in the back and say, sir, it's okay, it will come back, it'll be alright. The chopper will come on the other side and suddenly you'll become a tiger. That kind of a clown, nobody will die, nobody will kill. But when this man comes, he is sending a message to me. The message he is sending to me is, son, I am the brigade commander. I can't stay here with you for 1 year because I have done my time as a lieutenant, as a captain, or whatever. Now I have to look after the whole damn brigade. But for the 10 minutes that I am here with you, I will expose myself to the pain that you suffer on a daily basis so that you know that I know what your pain is. This is called walking the talk. Rest everything is called talking the talk. So next time, and by the way, I will tell you this. Who do you think your troops discuss all the time? Commander. You. They discuss you exactly as you do. You always discuss your bosses. Similarly, your troops discuss you all the time. If the troops know that you know their pain, you climb up several notches and they actually don't care whether you are an MBA from Harvard or Wharton or this or that or whatever. Always remember that when you look at a workforce, which I'm just taking an example out of the blue, who's working in some plus 48 degree temperature, and you're sitting in an ivory tower and AC car, there is really no connective leadership happening there. to expose yourself to the pain that your troops are going through, even if it's for a few minutes. It tells them that you understand their pain. And that, to my mind, is the fundamental foundation of leadership. Without that, by the way, I have to tell you, most troops are not looking for ideal leaders. They are not. They are looking for human leaders. They are looking for leaders with flaws. And matter of fact, soldiers will proudly say, "Hamara saath to thoda ragila." Our boss has got a little bit of, whatever, vices. He likes to do this, that. But he is a human being. And the human being comes from the fact that that leader exposes himself to the pain that his troops are going through. The third lesson which I want to share with you, and this is a very important lesson, and again, this is not just a lesson in Siachen Glacier or combat, this is a lesson we are taught right there in the academy when we are being trained. There are no good units and no bad units. There are only good officers and bad officers. And I can give you many examples about this. My favorite example is when I was posted for a brief file in the Siachen Battle School as an instructor. And the Siachen sector is divided into three. So you have the northern glacier, the central glacier, and the northern, central, just checking if you're awake. So northern, central, and southern glacier, and each part of the glacier is manned by one battalion. And many of you may know that the Indian Army is a caste composition army, which basically means that you have the Sikh, Khalsa, Jat, Gurkha, Bihar, Mahar. Now, interestingly, in this particular occasion, what had happened was that the regiment which had contributed 2 battalions to the glacier, so Mahar regiment had 1 battalion in the northern glacier and 1 battalion in the southern glacier at the same time. Now, the battalion in the northern glacier, it was kicking ass. It was like out there. It was delivering result after result. You give them a job, they finish the job, and they ask you for more. You walk into the unit, you think men are 6 feet tall because everyone has got his chest up. The salutes are like snappy. It almost seems like if you touch someone, you'll get a static electricity shock. That's the kind of morale in the northern sector. The southern sector, completely different. People, troops, morale is so low, casualties are high, people are walking days, they don't even look at you, they don't meet your eye. There are instances of soldiers putting their hand in snow deliberately, saying, "Teen ungli jayega, I'll lose 3 fingers, but at least I'll get the hell out of this damn place alive." And this is really funny for me because it's the same enemy, same cold, same bullet, same allowance, same clothing, everything is exactly the same. And the northern battalion is kicking ass and the southern battalion is crumpling like a pack of cards. Why does that happen? One commanding officer is changed, one CO is changed, and the unit which was on a downward spiral, it arrests that spiral, and within 30, 40, 50, 100 days, it comes back to becoming that crack fighting unit of the Indian Armed Forces. So many times when I hear during my reviews or my board consulting or whatever, I hear managers going, "My territory is bad, my product is bad, my client is bad, my people are bad, my assembly line is bad, my R&D is bad." Sometimes I am tempted to remind them maybe they should look at some other place where things could be bad. Because troops are troops. The troops that you engage in your organization, the value proposition that you put up for hiring people is exactly the same with some line items changing on top of. Troops are troops. It is the leaders who make the difference. So next time any one of us is tempted to apportion the blame to the troops, might be a good idea to remember this saying: there are no good troops, no bad troops. There are only good leaders and bad leaders. So what makes a good leader? This is again, how many of you seen the movie Lakshya? So in that movie they show you the Chetwood Hall, and this is the Chetwood Hall. And it is in this hall that the people pass out. And if you see that wooden plaque there, it gives the mantra of good leadership. You can't read it. I'll make it a close-up. You still may not be able to read it. But this is what it says. It says the safety, honor, welfare of your country comes first, foremost, every time. The safety, honor, well-being, comfort of your men comes next. Your own comfort, your own well-being, your own promotion, your own bonuses should come last every time. Now this looks like a very idealistic Gandhian statement. I am a very capitalist guy. I was in Delhi University College and by a freak of chance I joined the army. So I looked at this and I said, this is something that you put up on board. It is important to have vision statements like this, but you obviously don't follow it. You follow it ulta. You first look after yourself and your interests, and then if you have a little bit more time, you can look after the companies, and finally, if there is some more energy left, then the country. But I have to tell you this thing really works. I can again give you many stories. My favorite one, so when I was posted into the glacier, I had landed at Patapur airport, and from there I had to travel hours together before I get to the next post, and then from there I'd spend the night there, acclimatize, then a chopper lift. So it takes you about 2 weeks to get to your post or your battalion. And when I landed there was this Havaldar who had come to pick me up. He was in a jonga. And he tossed my kit bag inside it. And those of you who've been to Leh Ladakh, you know there are no roads there, it's only a dirt track. And as he was driving this Jeep, suddenly he braked, and we both were jolted because there was a wooden electrical pole. And from that pole, a wire, a bare cable had broken, and it was strung across the road. And it was one of those uninsulated cables. You know what I mean? That steel cable. So he stopped because we did not know whether this was a live cable or dead. And both of us got down from the Jeep, and we went very gingerly, and we tried. And as I was approaching to try and touch it, suddenly this guy shouts, "Hey, sir!" And I jerked back like that, bit like that, and jerked back. And then this man, he touches it with his hand and moves the cable. And I'm looking at him and saying, "What the hell have you told me not to touch the cable?" And then he says, "Aap hamari zimmewari, you are my responsibility. I have been told to bring you into this room." Some officer before me followed these principles, and that is why the men would always look after the officers. Trust me on this one. I have led auto companies, I have led consulting firms, I have led engineering firms, I have led one of the largest computing analytics project in the world. And I have my former colleagues here who will tell you, I've never been inside a B school except to teach. I've never been inside an engineering college except to teach. The only principle that I've tried to follow is if you look after if you're genuinely interested in your troops doing well, the troops will take care of everything else. You do not need to, but I mean genuinely. I don't really know, so I do this very often when I am hiring senior resources, and I ask them, "Tell me about your span of control." Sir, I commanded 17 people and I had 17 people reporting to me. I said, "Name them." And he starts the 5th name, 6th name, then he says, "Initials are PK." Bengali fellow, but this guy will never be a leader because he is not genuinely interested in his students. If you are genuinely interested, if you know which one of your employees comes late because he's got a special needs child whom he has to drop to another school and then come to your room. If you know which woman is finding it very hard to work because her husband or her in-laws are preventing her from, whatever, or making it very difficult. So if you know them to that level, you don't need to know anything else. You don't need these 3-letter acronyms behind your name. The troops will take care of the rest. Now, interestingly, many years later, I read the same. How many of you read this book called Good to Great? Or heard of this book called Good to Great? Those of you who haven't, must read it. It's a must read. It's almost 16 years ago. Jim Collins wrote this book by researching about 2,000, 3,000 companies, and he identified a group of great companies. And how did he identify them? He said that if you put $1 in the great company and put $1 on the closest competitor, the great company will deliver a 7 times better result. So it is a financially great company. It is not pizzas in the cafeteria and flexi hours or crashes in the campus. Not that great. It means hard benchmark of performance great. And what he found there was something very, very interesting. He names those companies: Nucor Steel, Kimberly-Clark, Gillette. And he says, for example, Kimberly-Clark has had the same CEO for 17 years. But nobody seems to know who is the CEO. Gillette. You ask anyone who is the CEO of Gillette. No one seems to know. You all know, of course, who is the CEO of Apple and Microsoft, and God forgive you if you don't know who Jack Welch is. But the great companies, nobody seems to know who is the CEO. And he calls this a level 5 leadership, where the leader does not come out in the front, the leader moves into the background, and only the battalion or the organization's name comes out. Ask yourself this question: you don't know who the CEO of Gillette, one of the best performing companies. You don't know who the CEO. You have no idea. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why you do not know the name of the commanding officer who came on 26/11, 8 years ago. Because as far as the Indian Army is concerned, Black Cats came, they did their job and they went back. Doesn't matter who was commanding them, who was the leader, was he a bloody icon or was he this, that, doesn't matter. That's level 5. And it is very interesting from another perspective. Apart from that Raga perspective, it's very interesting. It's interesting because the Indian Armed Forces or any armed forces cannot find 1000 level 5 leaders. Level 5 leaders are not born. There's no way that we can find. What we have discovered is if you take gently okay people and put them in one end of the pipeline, 18 months of training later, by and large, generally you will have about 1000 level 5 leaders, which means level 5 leadership can be taught. It can be implemented in organizations, it can actually be introduced into a DNA of a company or an organization by focusing only on the team's result, never on individual gladiators. So individual gladiatorship does not matter, individual recognition does not matter. All that matters is how the unit is performing as a whole. And that, to my mind, is the essential difference between armed forces leadership and leadership in many other areas. As I told you, I'm going to give you a short test exercise. We are running a little late, so I'll compress it and try to cover it in a shorter frame of time than I normally do this exercise. This is a sector where I'm going to base the test exercise, and I'm going to do a faster version of it, but I want you to sink yourself and then try and understand what the, and those of you who came in late, I just want to, I said in the beginning that I'll do a small exercise here to give you a sense of kind of decision making that is required in the forces and put yourself in the shoes of a leader over there. So imagine that you have been posted to this sector, let's call it Gulab for sake of nomenclature. There is a sector in Siachen called Gulab. And this is a very important sector because it's in the southern glacier. And while there are many posts here which are very strategically important, the most important one is over here on that dot there. And I'll show you why it is important. It is because this post guards an ingress through which infiltration has taken place. It takes place not very often, but it has taken place in the past, and that is why this particular sector has to be guarded very, very cautiously. And the guarding is done by a post over here, which has got about 25 to 40 troops over there. Are you with me so far? Because you have to understand the setting. Yes. Good. Okay. Now, this is what the post looks like. You see this flat portion, and then this mountain goes up. Can you see that? That's what it looks like. So this is the flat portion, and then the mountain goes up. So, in the entire Siachen sector, actually the entire armed forces, there is a process of a 24/7 sit rep. So, once in 24 hours, a section with 10 men will report to a platoon of 40, will report to a company of 180, will report to a battalion, will report to a brigade, to a division, to a corps, to the army command, and finally all the 8 army commanders will get the report of their armies and they will submit it to the army headquarters. This happens once every 24 hours. All forces do it all over the world. And then there will be a sit rep of how many casualties happened, helicopter crash, soldiers killed, firing in so-and-so area, the entire general situation comes. But sometimes commanders will ask for a surprise all okay report. So suddenly in the middle of the night they say, want to know all okay or not. So immediately the entire post will be taken up on telephone, they will be taken up on communication and all of that. Alpha 1, Bravo 2, Bravo 3, all the posts will be alerted and you will take a sit rep just to make sure. It's like an inventory, surprise inventory check. You understand, or surprise audit, you understand that, right? Now, on one particular night, when this, let's say you're a commander, and let's say you've been here for about 7 or 8 months, and usually in the glacier, in your 1 year tenure, the first 6 months is okay because you have the physical energy and you've been trained and all of that. The last couple of months is also okay. Why is that? Last couple of months. So Q3 is tough in glacier also. And you're in that state where your mental faculties are slow. If a piece of paper falls down, you have to pick it up, and you're reading a book and you suddenly realize that you've read it before. So you're in a daze. Some of you may have experienced it in Leh Ladakh. Your sense of perception is a little, you're in that daze. So one night, and by the way, in Siachen Glacier at about 5:30 is late night. By about 4 o'clock, visibility goes down. By 5:36, it's pitch dark, and blizzard is raging and all of that. And on that day, a surprise sit rep is called for. And at that point, you are told that Iqbal, This post is, let's call it Iqbal, just posts have different names. This one had a name called Iqbal. Iqbal is out of communication. Now there could be two possibilities. One possibility is that the cable which is laid to communicate with this post would have broken. The other possibility, which is a much more sinister possibility, is that enemy troops have infiltrated and they have captured this post. We have done it in the past, they have done it to us in the past. It's a constant game that keeps happening, not very frequently, but not too infrequently either. Now, if that has happened, they are now inducting reinforcements to cut off the southern glacier. And as I told you, it is northern, central, and southern, and this is a southern glacier. So if you cut this off, then all troop movement to the central and the northern glacier is now dominated. So in your watch, 2/3 of the Siachen sector has been lost. And the only way I can describe this to you, the feeling that you have in your heart, is those of you who have kids and you remember the time you have taken your tiny child out somewhere and suddenly you noticed your child was missing in a market or a busy place. That feeling that you have in your heart, of your heart, that's the way you feel when you realize that under your watch, a post has been lost. Fortunately, the armed forces have got a code word for every situation, and as soon as a post goes out of communication, you give out a code word that the post is out of communication, and immediately battle drills will start all across the sector. So immediately senior commanders will be informed, the brigade commander will now be talking directly to you, the commanding officer will be on listening watch, the attack vectors will start getting ready. Like I told you, the special forces have got what is called a hot standby. Similarly, the Air Force has got what is called a cockpit readiness, which means fighter pilots are sitting and strapped into the cockpit. So immediately when this code word is given, the second sortie will start lining up because the first sortie may have to go. The artillery will start warming up their guns. So every square inch of the Siachen sector is pre-registered with artillery guns, with before guns and field guns, which means a gun which is 35 kilometers away can shoot a shell directly. So I just have to say row number 17, seat number 6, and one round will come and fall somewhere near that area. You are safe, right? But this rounds, the calculation has been done when the gun barrel is hot. So, because it's all trigonometry and parabola and all of that, and a lot of variables, so the gun barrels will have to be warmed up. And how do you think gun barrels are warmed up? By firing. So you'll start getting the artillery guns going boom, daran, daran, the fire will start. You're on 6 telephones, you're handling, they're asking you more questions. When the last time you went there, what's the patrolling report, what's the satellite pictures, give us sit reps of last 8 weeks, we want. All this cacophony is going on. Your neighboring posts have opened up in machine gun fire on the right and your left. By the way, when you open up machine gun, this is called prophylactic firing, which basically means when you go on high alert and there is no visibility, you will just start opening up with your machine gun. 2-3 rounds. You will start firing elimination rounds to indicate that you are on ultra high alert. So when you start firing, what do you think the adversary is doing? So with you in the epicenter, the entire sector starts going wild and people are asking you more information, more. But you have no more. All you know is that the post is out and you do not know why the post is out. Is it out because the communication line is broken, or is it out because the enemy has taken over the post? Luckily for you, you have a post over here at this place. This post is actually a transit post, which is basically kept here so that troops who are coming in from the central and the northern glacier will halt here for the night. They'll be given hot food and all of that, and in the morning they will be sent off again. Similarly, troops who are getting inducted also halt there for the night. So at any given point of time, in that post you have about 40 to 50 troops who are stationed here. And up to this place, you have got communication. Are you with me so far? Yes. So what you tell that post is, get your boys ready, you will have to go up and see, and as soon as you are ready, let me know. And he goes into a battle drill, starts issuing orders, ammunition, this, that, all of that stuff. All this is going on, you are handling 5-6 sets, your heart is beating, you have no idea what to do now, and in this middle of this cacophony, suddenly this guy calls up, this Haldar from there calls up and says, Saab, boys are ready to go up. And then he asks you a question that I'm going to ask you, and that's the question that you have to reply. He asks you this very simple question. I'll ask you the question and I'll explain the significance of that question. ये move tactically होगा कि administratively होगा? Will this move take place tactically or administratively? Now let me explain the difference between the two movements. Tactical movements is what we have mostly seen in movies, that soldiers will do what is called fire and. So one guy will cover, the other guy will move quickly, the next person will reach that place. You will resort to what is called prophylactic firing, which means if you feel that there is a movement happening, you open fire. The assumption is that enemy troops are sitting on top. Administrative movement is when you swing the rifle on your back and you just climb up administratively. Assumption is own troops are sitting on top. Do you see the dilemma? If own troops are sitting on top and communication has broken and you order a tactical move up, the sentries on duty will see 35, 40 people creeping up very slowly, stealthily. Bad weather conditions, zero visibility. They have no reason to assume this is anyone other than the enemy troops coming up. And you will have a nightmare of every commander, which is called blue on blue. Your own troops are firing at each other, killing each other. On the other hand, if it is the enemy troops who have occupied the post on top, and if you order an administrative move up, these people will not have a chance of a snowball in hell, because the enemy will just line up one machine gun and one burst you will take out three, and they will be slaughtered without a chance. And you have to give your decision now, because every second you delay, what is happening?
More loss.
I gave you the formula in the beginning of this presentation. For every one soldier who climbs on top, you have written 9 more death warrants. 9 more, 9 more, 9 more, 9 more. So you have to take a decision now. You can't say call McKinsey, Ernst & Young, and Accenture. You can't do that. You have to take the decision now. You can't ask anyone else. But before you take that decision, I just want you to know that in combat, and to my mind in any decision making, there are 3 qualities that are required. By the way, I just want to show you this. You see this, this hump here? This is what it looks like. And you see this last sudden turn here? That's what it looks like. And the person on top, you don't know whether he's your guy or their guy. You have no idea. So, let me try and put this in perspective. When a human body gets shot with a 3-round burst of a machine gun, I want to tell you what happens. I want you to visualize this because it's very important for you to visualize. Like I said in the beginning, it's not like the movies. You get shot, you sing a song, it doesn't happen. I think those of you who have seen Saving Private Ryan is possibly the best portrayal of combat. That is real combat. That's how it happens. Troops fire like this. You take out the gun, you fire, then you look like that, and you suddenly see someone. It's tricky because let's say on one clear sunny day you are standing and you're talking to a friend of yours, and suddenly you see his head explode like a watermelon, and his flesh, his hair, his teeth, his eyes come and hit your face, and your face is splattered with blood, and you go down, and after about half a second you hear the shot of the sniper who has shot his head off from about 1.2 kilometers, and your heart stops twice. The first time, of course, it stops because you have just seen a human head explode in front of your eyes. Why does it stop the second time? Because that morning, that sniper had 2 heads inside his skull, and he decided to take that one instead of this one. That is why your heart stops. In combat, when a machine gun burst is fired at a human body, the first bullet, imagine, hits him in the ankle, just cleaves his foot from there. The second bullet hits him in the stomach and lifts him up because there's a tiny hole which happens in the front, breaks his spine from the back. Third bullet goes from inside, below his jaw, goes through his mouth, through the roof of his mouth, through the skull, and comes out and takes the helmet off. And before the man is down on the ground, he is dead. What I want you to do is to visualize someone who is extremely close to you, your child, your family, your brother, your father, and visualize that face, and visualize these 3 bullets hitting that face. And that's when you will realize what is the burden of. You know, when I was, again, how many of you have seen the movie Laksh? So my story was like Laksh, but there was no Preeti Zinta. That was the only difference. Right? So I was a lost case listening to the last guy who tell me commercial airlines sounds like a good idea, Percent Navy also a good idea. But something happened in my life and I joined the army. And of course, within 3 days of joining the army, I cursed the guy who gave me the idea. I cursed the day I cursed the very chap who sold me the form in UPSC. Because they are extremely harsh during the first few weeks. Why are they more harsh during the first few weeks? Because they don't want these stupid soldiers. Someone has seen Don Rambo land up there. So they want people who are in it, and that's why they are extremely rough on you. 18 months of training later, the Havaldar instructor who used to put a boot in the back of my neck and make me do push-ups over a sewer, that man will stand and ramrod attention and salute me because now I am an officer. When I walk into the barracks as a 20-year-old young kid, old, leather, bone, battle-hardened soldiers with scars on their face, they need to put down their cigarettes and all, they'll stand up because an officer is passing in front of them, and you will feel like God. Until the day you lose a soldier in your command. Because if you are from a good unit, as I was, then you have to go and tell the widow of that soldier that your husband died when he was under my command. And that woman, when she tries to rip out your eyes with her nails and say, Haramzade, inka kya hoga, and points towards 3 tiny kids, that's the time you feel the burden of this star on your shoulder. That is the burden. So be aware that no matter what decision you are being asked to take, how many zeros are behind that decision, what is the implication of that, you will never ever have to take a decision which will result in kids being orphaned and those eyes looking at you and saying, why did you take that decision which made me an orphan? That is never ever going to happen. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Great. My last lesson that I want to share with you is that you didn't have to go through this presentation on Siachen Glacier to know that every person sitting inside this auditorium is way on the right side of the fence. We have all won that lottery of life which has made us 0.00001% of humanity. If you don't believe that, when you're driving back here, you just have to look around you. You have to look around, even here, the workers who are working, as you pointed out, with no AC, no nothing in the metal, they're doing that. You see people back in India, you see all of you, when you go back to India or any one of those places, you see every traffic light, tiny kids who are darting about in that traffic, who have to get back a certain amount of money, begging or whatever every day. If they don't bring that back, they get beaten every day. But for the grace of God, they could be your kids. But for the grace of God, they could be you. And yet, we will not look at all the blessings we have, all the great things we have, all the wonderful planets that are to be aligned for us to be where we are today. We won't look at that. All we'll look at is that one tiny piece that we don't have, one aspect that we don't get, one element, and we'll focus only on that. And this one thing I don't have because I live my life as one. So my last lesson I want to share with you is please get a perspective. Next time you feel that things are not going my way, things are bad or whatever, please get a perspective on where we are. And that's why I kind of want to bring you back to my summary of this workshop. I gave you what I try to believe is the mantra of good teams. Good teams need to be tied, joined at the hips, literally. Walking the talk, no good groups, your priorities in life, who comes first? And the last piece, before you answer this slide once again, get a perspective. And usually I've seen that at the end of this session, some of these scores change.
Yes. It has to change.
Now, interestingly, nothing has changed outside this auditorium. Nothing. You will still go back to the same job tomorrow. You will still drive the same car. You will still go to the same house where you will find the same spouse. None of that will change. But if these scores have changed, it's because something has changed inside your head. And that is the beginning of leadership. Leaders cannot change the environment around them until they are willing to change the environment inside their heads. All leaders who believe that I will affect change externally, but I am not willing to change, they will never be leaders. They will try to be managers, but they will never be leaders. Because to be leaders, you have to acknowledge that I have to change first. Interestingly, in about 2 hours' time, your scores are changing. And nothing has changed outside. Every material aspect that you have is exactly the same. But if something has changed in your head, I think that is the beginning of change in leadership. And tonight, you can either use that as a life-changing movement and take it ahead from here, or it can just be an entertainment and Sunday morning your mails take you back to where you were before. The choice, again, as most things in life, lies with you. Before I end my session, I want to share a couple of things with you. This is a book I had written, and you don't have to buy this book. This book is available on the internet for free. But if you do decide to buy this book, then please be advised that every paisa of this book, including the publisher's part of it, goes to the orphans and the widows of the armed forces who have died. And before I end, I want to read out something to you. And I think this is a lesson of leadership that I have tried to carry with me, and so this is the last lesson or the closing address which is given to officers after they have passed out, they have finished the 18 months training. They are sitting exactly in an auditorium like this. By the way, it's called the Hitapal Auditorium in the Indian Military Academy, named after Hitapal, who was a Paramveer Chakra winner at the age of 21. And this last lecture, or the last sort of address, is given by non-commissioned officers. So in the armed forces, as you're aware, we have the officers, the commissioned officers, and you have the Jawans who join as a Sipahi, then they become Lance Nayak, the Naik Subedar. So it's a bit like you are management cadre, and then you have the worker cadre who rise up from there. So the last closing address is given by one of the NCOs from the working cadre. He is the person who is giving this last lesson to the officers who are sitting in front. And I just want to share this lesson with you. Although it's a very military lesson, but I think I haven't yet found a better management lesson that's been summarized in 3 pages ever in my life. I've read, I've studied, but I haven't found a more powerful life lessons. So each word is liquid gold. Just listen. I feel a tinge of regret that I am not young enough to be sitting out there as one of you. You have so many challenging and adventurous years to look forward to, and so many of these years are now behind you. Soon, you will meet your platoon havildars, your sergeant majors, your non-commissioned officers, and your troops. What do we expect from you as officers, commanders, and leaders? We expect of you unassailable personal integrity and the highest of honors. We expect you to maintain the highest state of personal appearance. We expect you to be fair, to be consistent, to have dignity but not aloofness, to have compassion and understanding, and to treat each soldier as an individual with individual problems. And we expect you to have courage, the courage of your convictions, the courage to stand up and be counted, to defend your men when they have followed your orders, even when your orders were in error, to assume the blame when you are wrong. We expect you to stick out your chin and say, this man is not qualified and he will be promoted only over my dead body. Gentlemen, I implore you, do not promote a man because he is a nice guy. Do not promote a man because he's got a wife and 5 kids, and definitely do not promote a man because you are under pressure to promote him. Because if he is not capable of doing justice to his grade, do not do him and us the injustice of advancing him in grade. Because when he leaves you or you leave him, he will become somebody else's problem. Gentlemen, we expect you to have courage in the face of danger. Many of you will soon be in conditions where there are no safe rear echelons. During your tour, opportunity will arise for you to display personal courage and leadership. Opportunities could also arise from which you may emerge as heroes. Listen to the definition of a hero very carefully. A hero is an individual who is faced with an undesirable situation and uses means at his disposal to make that situation slightly more bearable for his troops. That's it. That's all you have to do to become a hero or a heroine. A hero is an individual faced with an undesirable situation, uses means at his disposal to make that situation more bearable for his troops. You do that, as far as your troops are concerned, you are a hero. Do not display recklessness and expose yourself and your men to unnecessary risks that will reduce their normal chance of survival. This will only shake their confidence in your judgment. Now, gentlemen, you know what we expect from you. What can you expect from us? From a few of us, you can expect a prove yourself attitude. From a few of us who had the opportunity to become officers but didn't have the guts, the motivation, or the wherewithal to accept the challenge, you can expect a little bit of resentment. And a few of us old-timers, you can expect tolerance. But for most of us, you can expect a loyalty to your position, a devotion to our cause, admiration for your honest efforts, courage to match your courage, guts to match your guts, endurance to match your endurance, motivation to match your motivation, and a desire for achievement to match your desire for achievement. We will not mind the heat if you will sweat with us. We will not mind the cold if you will shiver with us. And when our cigarettes are gone, we don't mind quitting smoking, provided your cigarettes are gone. Let me say something here that is the most powerful line of leadership prose I've read in my life. He says, and if the mission requires, we will storm the very gates of hell right behind you. We are very clear on this. Very clear. If the mission requires, not because you're some general's son and you're trying to outlive your father's shadow, not because you got a girl back home and you're promised her a medal, not because your global envy is coming and you want to show him how much of a chatak Charlie you are in front of him, not because of that. If the mission requires, we will storm the very gates of hell right behind you. Ladies and gentlemen, they are very clear who has to go in first. You don't accept us. We were here before you. We accept you. And when we accept you, we don't make a big song and dance about it. We don't do employee of the month and all these things. It's some bada khana, some party, some mess party will lift up a glass of rum, look you in the eye, and we'll say, Saab to 3 guy, you're okay. That's our way of showing you that we have accepted. Remember one thing. Very few non-commissioned officers were awarded their stride without showing something to somebody at some time at some place. So if your sergeant is shy, he shies away from responsibility, he's reluctant to take decisions, he moves away from you. Maybe sometime not too long ago, someone refused to support him when he was right. Someone refused to hold his hand and someone shot him down when he was doing the right thing. Old scars fade slowly, old memories fade even more slowly. Your letter of appointment, appointing you as a commanding officer in the Indian Armed Forces, appointed you to command. No letter, no insignia, no calling card, no designation in your cabinet can appoint you as leaders. Because leadership is an intangible thing. Leadership is not something that you're born with. Leadership is something that you grow within yourself each and every day. You do not wear leadership on your sleeves, on your shoulders, on your calling cards. Be you lieutenants or be you generals, we are the guys you've got to convince and we will meet you more than half. You are a leader in the organization that we have loved for so many years. You will help us fulfill a mission that we have loved for many, many years. I wish you happiness, luck and success in the exciting and the challenging years that lie ahead. May God bless you all. Thank you very much. I just want to end, please sit down with the same message that I gave in the beginning. Some of you arrived in late, so I'm just repeating that message. The story that I narrated to you just now is not my story. It is the story of soldiers across the world. It's not the story of the Indian Army. It is equally applicable to your army here. It is applicable to all armies of the world. Armies are what? Armies are young kids who are taken out of the society and told that for your entire serviceable life, when you should be with your family, when you should be having the fun things in life, when you should be getting the material things, and all your friends and postmates, they will all be doing that, they will be watching their children grow. You will watch your children grow up in installments, because you have to go out there and make sure that the rest of us can be safe. That's what an army is. That army, regardless of which country it is, that army, regardless of which country it is, the citizens owe a very great responsibility towards them. Because remember one thing, your army never fights because it hates the enemy in the front. It fights because it loves the countrymen in the back. And the day the countrymen in the back stop loving their army, that day any countryman will get the army they deserve. So if we want a stronger nation, whichever nation that might be, if we want a stronger army, the only way to achieve that is to acknowledge what they are doing, just a simple thing. Now, usually after this workshop, a lot of people say, how can we help the army? We want to contribute, can we give them money and all? We don't need the money. I don't think you can outsource the patriotism by donating some money and saying, no, you become a patriot, I'll have money. Doesn't work like that. But if you genuinely care about your troops, I put out a Twitter handle out there. That handle is followed by many people, and it's followed by people in the Siachen sector especially. How many of you got a Twitter account? Raise your hands. If you can just say a thank you in that Twitter handle, that's it. You don't have to mention this presentation or anything. If you just say thank you, they are also stunned. Dubai is what is going on? But they get wind under their wings. They suddenly feel that their countrymen, wherever they are still thankful to them, and that will make them sleep slightly warmer tonight in Seattle. Thank you very much.
I'm really floored by your last 2 hour session, to be very honest with you. And I just come for a visit for the last 10 days or so. I'm leaving a couple of days later. And only one thing which I want to ask you, when I hear about all of armed forces, India, I really get goosebumps.
Sorry?
I really get goosebumps.
I can't understand. Goosebumps. Is that the question? Why are you getting goosebumps?
Absolutely not. Truly saluting their leadership. I would want to ask a question. Would these leaders, a colonel or a captain or whatever names they are, would they fit into the corporate culture?
They do actually. You would be surprised, and again, I don't want to talk about the Indian Army per se, but if you see the US corporate, you find that all these veterans who are coming back from Afghanistan, Iraq, they're just, by the way, let's talk about this a little while, and I think this is important to know. You know, platoon size is 40 people. And is commanded by a lieutenant. By the way, this 40 people is across armies of the world. The British Army, the Indian Army, I'm sure, even the UAE Army, the strength is more or less the same. When you take the major's command of a company, it's about 180 across armies of the world. And by the way, not because these armies copied it from each other, even historically, the Mayans, the Mongolians, the Aztecs, and the Incas, and the Red Indians, and by the way, Facebook group is also 180 people. Yeah, exactly. The span of control of human beings, every technology that you use today, radar, sonar, internet, mobile communication, commercial aircrafts, X-ray, all of them have originated after war. All of them. James McKinsey, you talk about McKinsey and Co. McKinsey the colonel. It's from logistics. The Royal British Army colonel basically took the logistic principles of the army and applied it to the corporate. Your briefing, I have heard more jargon in the corporate sector. Actually, war room, this thing, strategic. Matter of fact, in the army, we are playing games most of the time and we go to war once in a while. In the corporate sector, you are fighting all the time and you have forgotten how to play. So, I would actually strongly recommend that if there is an infusion, even from a diversity perspective, by the way, Goldman Sachs is doing this as a global program where they are inducting in people from the armed forces, not just for security, but from managing logistics, managing coordinations. Many of you might know, the entire spectrum in India of mobiles was set up by ex-signals officers. They are the guys who just came in out of the signals, and so Airtel, Vodafone, BPL Mobile, all of that, were done by officers from the civil who came in and did that. When your Commonwealth bridge breaks, the army comes and does it. When a flood rescue has to happen, the army comes and does it. When earthquake has to be, when a child has to be taken out of a borewell, the Indian army comes and does it. So nobody trains us how to take children how to build bridges and all. But that ability to very quickly, and I want to touch upon one more factor. When these troops are operating in United Nations, in UN peacekeeping you spoke about, various different countries' armies work together because they have a common vocabulary. So the ability of bringing in this kind of diversity into the organization and leveraging them, I think it's a remarkable opportunity. Of course, there is a little bedding in period. There is a period where you will have to train those people, or someone will have to take a bet on them and provide them that nurturing and the transformational opportunity. But if you provide that opportunity, there is more than there is.
You know where in which side of the line the enemy stands. But when you are in the corporate world, you don't know where you are surrounded basically. You are surrounded by the enemies all around, and you can't be shooting at all directions at the same time. This question has got some link to your previous answer. Now, in the corporate world, when somebody does, he is sent to Harvard for a short-term management course, or sent to IIM, whatever. Is it not a good idea to take them to Siachen to give a real test of leadership?
No, good. Actually, it's a very good point, and I know that many advocates are now talking about there should be compulsory military service and all of those things. I don't believe in that myself personally. I don't think the Indian Army is Chatek coaching classes which has to train people. We need people who are coming over there with a true motivation to come. Having said that, there are a lot of organizations, by the way. Gillette is one of them, by the way, the company that I mentioned. Gillette is one of them which carries out a 2-week-long program where they take their top 35 leaders and they have to sail to the Antarctic and back in 6 separate sailing boats. And they have one SEAL with them and one naval captain, and the rest the team has to do the job. And interestingly, during that 2 weeks of sailing, they have to come up with a business plan which has a $50 million drop to the bottom line, and they come back and they render that business plan in the year, and only then they are promoted. So there are organizations which are looking at bringing this trauma training. See, one of the main things you learn in the forces is to have very strong speed of trust. You don't have to like each other. You just have to respect each other. I've been in teams where I know, and I've been in a small hit team, where if you took the 5 members and they found each other in a dark alley, they probably kill each other. That's how much they hate each other. But when I'm on a mission, I know there is no better man than this guy to watch my 6 o'clock because he's the best sniper in the business. So if you respect each other, the organization will get a speed of trust. You don't have to like each other, you don't have to fall on each other, hold each other and all of that. So you just have to respect each other. Now that respecting each other's skills and competencies only comes under trauma. I'll give you a very simple example. You remember where you were on 26/11? First SMS you got, first time you saw the image on TV, the first person you called after you heard about the news. You remember that? It's 8 years ago. Right? Where were you last Thursday? You have to check your BlackBerry. Because no trauma happened. We only remember trauma. And trauma is not necessarily a bad word. Trauma could be high trauma, low trauma, your first child's first whatever. These things you remember. So the moment you expose a team together to trauma, the bonds become much stronger. People, they become a one team. And that is an exercise which a lot of people are doing. So they are actually, many of them are even inducting forces people into the organization to bring this kind of feeling of camaraderie. And remember one thing, many people say, oh, but in the army you are there for years. Not necessarily. I gave you the example of NSG. The NSG is a deputationist force where people come in 2 to 3 years and then they go back. The RR, Rashtra Rifles, it's one of the largest branches of the army. Everyone there goes on deputation. They go there for 2 years, 2.5 years, and then they come back. So it is possible even in a moving organization.
Good evening, members and guests. It is my privilege to present this vote of thanks tonight. Thank you to our guest of honor, Mr. Omar Al-Mesmar, for gracing us with your presence. We are grateful for your recognition and appreciation of chartered accountants in the region. Thank you, Captain Raman, on behalf of ICAI UAE Dubai, for your time, insights, and management lessons. We remain indebted to the armed forces for all that they do, and your session tonight has only augmented our respect for them. To felicitate Captain Raman, may I please invite on stage our guest of honor, Mr. Omar Al-Mesmar, and may I request our chairman and vice chairman to please accompany him. Can I also invite on stage all our past chairmen and Mr. Santosh Cherian from our event partner, Akbar Group, to please join them.
Thank you. Pleasure being here. Thank you.
For any members and guests who would like to contribute to the widows of army soldiers, please contact our treasurer, Mr. Mahmood Bangara, to facilitate this. Thank you to all our sponsors, media branding partners, and a special thank you to Akbar Group, our event partners, venue coordinators at the Emirates Institute of Banking and Financial Studies, the executive committee members, guests, and our most valued members. We thank you all for being with us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you at all our future events. Thank you.